My beloved child, come close to me for a moment and let your shoulders fall. I know what you have been carrying quietly, the parts of your life that did not turn out the way you hoped, the plans that cracked in your hands, the version of yourself you thought you would be by now. I see the pieces. I see what looks broken to you. But I did not come to grieve with you over rubble. I came to tell you what I see when I look at the same wreckage. I do not see an ending. I see raw material. Nothing you consider ruined is wasted in my hands. You have been taught by disappointment to call certain things finished. The marriage that did not survive. The friendship that dissolved into silence. The dream that collapsed before it ever stood up straight. The body that betrayed you with illness. The years that vanished while you were only trying to survive them. My beloved child, you have looked at these things and quietly whispered, "This is over. This cannot be used for anything good anymore." But I am not limited by what looks unusable to human eyes. I have always built my finest work from what the world discarded. Think of a potter standing over clay that has collapsed on the wheel. To an untrained eye, that lump looks like failure, like something to scrape off and throw away. But the potter does not see failure. The potter sees clay that is still soft enough to be shaped again. My beloved child, this is what I see when I look at you. I do not see a person who is finished. I see a life still soft enough in my hands to become something new. What broke was never the material. What broke was the shape it had been forced into. I want you to hear this clearly because shame has a way of whispering the opposite. Shame tells you that you are the wreckage, that you are the broken thing itself, not simply someone who has been through breaking. But you are not the collapse. You are the one I am still forming. There is a difference between a life that has fallen apart and a life that is finished. Yours has not reached its final shape. What feels like the end of your story is, in my hands, still the middle of it. My beloved child, I want to correct something you have believed for a long time. You have believed that rebuilding starts only after everything is calm, after the dust settles, after you finally understand why it happened. But I do not wait for calm to begin my work. I was already rebuilding while the walls were still falling. I was gathering the pieces while you were still in shock, while you were still asking why, while you could not yet see any purpose in what was happening. Restoration in my hands begins earlier than your awareness of it. Remember the city that lay in ruins for so long that its own people stopped believing it could rise again. The walls were broken. The gates were burned, and those who remained lived among the rubble as if rubble were simply the new address of their lives. Yet I raised up someone to rebuild what fire had destroyed, stone by stone, gate by gate, until a city that had been mourned as dead stood upright again. My beloved child, I am not intimidated by how long something has lain in ruins. Time does not disqualify a thing from being rebuilt by me. So hear me now, in this quiet moment, before the noise of your day returns. What you call ruined, I call raw material. What you call finished, I call unfinished. What you call the end of your usefulness, I call the beginning of a deeper work. I am not asking you to pretend the breaking did not hurt. I am asking you to let me hold the pieces, because a potter does not need broken clay to explain itself before shaping it again. Bring me what is left. That is enough for me to begin. My beloved child, I have shown you that I call your ruins raw material, and now I want you to understand something further. I do my deepest rebuilding in silence, long before anyone sees the finished structure. You have wondered more than once why healing feels so slow, why restoration does not announce itself the way destruction did. Destruction is loud. It happens all at once, in front of witnesses, in a single devastating moment that everyone can point to. But rebuilding rarely works that way. Rebuilding happens underground, quietly, patiently, far from applause. Think of a foundation being poured beneath a building. No one gathers to admire wet concrete. No one takes photographs of rebar being laid beneath the ground. The exciting part, the part people celebrate, comes only after the foundation has already been finished and forgotten. My beloved child, this is where you are right now in many areas of your life. You are in the foundation stage, the stage no one applauds. The stage that looks like nothing is happening, even though everything that matters is happening exactly where you cannot yet see it. I understand why this season is hard for you. You want proof. You want to see the walls rising before you trust that a foundation is even being laid. But if I built visibly before I built structurally, the result would not stand. A life built on a rebuilt foundation must be reinforced far below the surface, in the parts of you that no one else observes, the private convictions, the quiet obedience, the moments you chose to trust me when no one was watching, the mornings you kept believing before you had any evidence to believe with. My beloved child, do not despise the invisible work. Do not resent the silence. There were kings in the old stories who rebuilt sacred houses and city walls only after long seasons of exile, only after the people had grown quiet, had grown almost forgetful of what they were rebuilding toward. And in that silence, I was still moving hearts, still preparing materials, still setting the stage for a restoration that would eventually be seen by everyone. Silence was never absence. It was construction happening beneath the surface of what your eyes could measure. There is a reason I do not reveal every stage of your rebuilding to you in advance. If I showed you the whole blueprint now, you might try to rush the structure before it can bear weight. You might celebrate too early and stop reinforcing what still needs reinforcing. My beloved child, trust the parts of the process you cannot see. Trust that the conversations you have had with me in private, the tears no one witnessed, the choices to forgive when no one demanded it of you, these are not wasted moments. They are the load-bearing walls of what I am building in you. I know it is tempting to measure my faithfulness only by what is visible. You want a testimony you can point to, a moment you can put a date on, a before and after you can show someone else. But some of my greatest rebuilding never becomes a public testimony. It becomes the quiet strength inside you that no one can quite explain, the peace that holds when everything else in your life would once have shattered you, the steadiness in your voice when you speak about the very thing that used to destroy you. That steadiness did not happen by accident. I built it in silence, one unnoticed day at a time. So my beloved child, let me finish what I am building beneath the surface before you demand to see it above ground. I am not being slow with you, I am being thorough. A structure raised too quickly on an unfinished foundation cannot hold what I intend to place inside it later. The weight of your calling, the pressure of your influence, the storms that will come after this season. I would rather take longer and build something that stands than rush to satisfy your need to see progress today. Trust the work you cannot see. It is the most important work I am doing. My beloved child, I have shown you that I rebuild in silence before I reveal in glory. And now I want to speak directly to the fear that the cracks in your life mean the story is over. You have looked at certain seasons of your life the way someone looks at a shattered window, as though there is no way to explain the damage except as pure loss. The failed attempt, the relationship that fractured, the year everything you had built seemed to come apart at once. You have called these things the end, but I call them the place where I began writing a truer chapter. There is an old story of a vessel that had been discarded, broken beyond what its owner believed useful, and yet it was reshaped by a skilled hand into something entirely new, according to a design the original vessel never could have held. My beloved child, the cracks in your story are not proof that I have abandoned the design. They are proof that the old shape was never meant to be final. I am not in the business of gluing broken things back into their former shape. I am in the business of reshaping them into a form that can hold more than they ever could before. You may still be grieving the version of your life the cracks destroyed. That grief is honest, and I do not ask you to skip past it. But grief and hope can live in the same room. You can mourn what broke while still trusting what I am forming from it. The two are not enemies. My beloved child, I have never asked you to celebrate the pain itself. I have only asked you to trust that pain, in my hands, is not the final material. It is simply the material I am working with right now, on the way to something whole. Consider how light finds its way through what is cracked. A vessel with no breaks in it can hold water perfectly, but it cannot let light through in the same way a broken one can. There is a strange gift hidden inside the fracture, a gift the unbroken version never had access to. My beloved child, the very places where your life cracked open are becoming the places where my light moves through you most visibly to others. What you have hidden as your shame may become, in time, the exact place where someone else finds the courage to keep going. I know it does not feel like a gift while you are living inside the crack. It feels like exposure, like weakness, like proof that you were never strong enough to hold everything together. But my beloved child, holding everything together was never your assignment. being shaped by me was. And I cannot shape what has never been softened, and I cannot soften what has never cracked. The break you are grieving is not evidence that I failed to protect you. It is evidence that I am doing something with you that could not be done any other way. So today, release the belief that the cracks mean the story is finished. Nothing that is cracked in your life is disqualified from being used by me. I have taken broken loaves and multiplied them until there was more than enough. I have taken a broken heart and turned it into a testimony that steadies other broken hearts. I have taken a broken plan and rebuilt it into something wiser than the first design ever was. My beloved child, hand me the pieces you have been hiding because you believed they proved your failure. I do not see failure. I see the beginning of a new shape. And in the next part, I want to speak to something deeper still. The shame that has convinced you certain parts of your story are simply unusable, too damaged, too embarrassing, too far gone to ever be redeemed. I want you to understand that shame has been lying to you about what I am capable of restoring, and I am about to show you exactly how far my rebuilding reaches, even into the rooms you have never let anyone else see. My beloved child, I have shown you that cracks are not the end of the story, and now I want to walk with you into a harder room. The room where shame has convinced you that certain parts of your life are simply beyond repair. You know the parts I mean. The choice you have never told anyone about. The season you are not proud of. The way you treated someone when your own pain was louder than your character. The habit you cannot seem to fully release. Shame has stood at the door of that room for years, telling you it is better left sealed, better forgotten, better never handed to me. But my beloved child, I am not asking you to seal that room. I am asking you to let me in. Shame wants you to believe that if I truly saw everything in there, I would turn away. Shame wants you to keep managing your own restoration by hiding the worst of it, and hoping I only rebuild the parts you find presentable. But I do not restore selectively. I do not skip the room and hope the rest of the house looks fine without it. I want all of it, because I already know all of it, and none of it has ever disqualified you from my love. There was a woman once who came to draw water alone, at an hour when no one else would see her, because she had learned to hide from the judgment in people's eyes. She had a history she assumed made her unwelcome in every gathering, unworthy of being spoken to directly. Yet I met her exactly there, in the middle of her hiding, and I spoke to her not as someone unusable, but as someone who had simply never been offered living water before. My beloved child, I do not meet you at your best moment to begin rebuilding you. I meet you at the well you have been hiding at. Shame has a strategy, and I want you to recognize it clearly. Shame does not simply remind you of what you did. Shame tries to convince you that what you did is who you are. There is a difference between a person who has done something wrong and a person who is nothing but the wrong they have done. My beloved child, you are not the sum of your worst chapters. I do not define you by the mistake. I define you by the calling I placed in you before the mistake ever happened, and that calling has not expired. I want to be plain with you. There is no version of your story too damaged for me to use. I have taken people known publicly for their failures and placed them at the center of my most important work, not despite their history, but sometimes because of it. Because a rebuilt life speaks a language that an untested life never learns. The very thing shame told you disqualified you may become the thing that qualifies you to reach someone else who feels exactly as disqualified as you once did. My beloved child, bring me the room you have kept locked. You do not have to explain it perfectly. You do not have to arrive with the right words or a tidy confession. You only have to stop pretending the room does not exist. I am not a God who is disgusted by what is broken. I am the one who specializes in it. What shame calls unusable, I call unfinished. What shame calls too far gone, I call within reach. There is no history so damaged that my hand refuses to work with it. So release the sealed room today. Let the shame lose its grip on the door. I am not going to expose you to prove a point. I am going to restore you quietly, the same way I restore everything else, patiently, from the inside. Until the very thing you were most afraid to show me becomes the place where you understand my mercy most deeply. And in the next part, I want to speak to something many of you carry silently, the rebuilding of trust after someone you loved broke it, because that too is a room I am fully able to restore. My beloved child, I have shown you that shame's sealed room is not beyond my reach. And now I want to speak gently into a wound that has changed the way you relate to almost everyone since it happened: the breaking of your trust. Someone you believed in disappointed you in a way you did not see coming. Perhaps they lied to you. Perhaps they left when you needed them to stay. Perhaps they used something private against you, or simply were not who you thought they were. Since then, you have carried a quiet vigilance into every new relationship, watching for the same betrayal before it can surprise you again. I understand that vigilance. It kept you safe for a while. But my beloved child, a heart that never lowers its guard cannot fully receive love either. And I did not rebuild you only so you could survive future harm. I rebuilt you so you could love again without permanently bracing for the next wound. Trust that has been broken can be rebuilt, but I want you to know it is rebuilt differently than it was first built. The first trust was often naive, untested, unaware of how deeply people can wound each other. The trust I rebuild in you now is wiser, but it is not colder. There were friends of mine, close companions, who scattered and denied even knowing me in my hardest hour. If anyone understood betrayal, it was the one who was abandoned by those closest to him in his darkest night. And yet afterward, I did not banish those friends from my presence. I restored them gently over a shared meal, with patient questions instead of accusations. My beloved child, if I could rebuild trust with those who abandoned me at my lowest moment, I can rebuild your capacity to trust again, even after what was done to you. I want to correct a belief that betrayal often plants deep inside you, that trusting again is naive, that guarding your heart permanently is the only wise way to live. But my beloved child, permanent guardedness is not wisdom. It is a wound that has been allowed to write the rules for the rest of your life. Wisdom means learning discernment, not abandoning trust altogether. I am teaching you to recognize character, to notice patterns, to move at a healthy pace, without asking you to live the rest of your life expecting everyone to fail you the way one person did. Rebuilding trust does not mean forgetting what happened or pretending the wound never occurred. It means allowing me to be the one who repairs your capacity to open your heart safely again. Some people you trusted will never be safe to trust in the same way, and I am not asking you to hand them the same access to your heart. But I am asking you not to let their betrayal close the door on every future relationship, including the ones I am preparing for you, the ones capable of honoring what you carry. My beloved child, forgiveness and trust are not the same thing, and I want you to understand the difference clearly. You can forgive someone, releasing them from the debt their betrayal created in your heart, without immediately restoring full trust to them. Forgiveness is something I ask of you for your own freedom. Trust is something that is rebuilt slowly, through consistency, through time, through evidence. Do not confuse the two, and do not let anyone shame you into trusting again before trust has actually been rebuilt through faithful behavior. So my beloved child, bring me the guardedness you have carried since your trust was broken. Let me rebuild your capacity to believe in people again, wisely and without naivety, but also without permanent suspicion standing at the door of your heart. I am not finished repairing this part of you, and I am not in a hurry either. And in the next part, I want to speak to a wound that touches something even closer to home, the broken pieces within your own family, because I am rebuilding there too, even where it seems most unlikely. My beloved child, I have shown you how I rebuild trust after betrayal, and now I want to speak into a place that often hurts the most quietly, the broken pieces within your own family. Perhaps there is distance between you and someone who shares your blood, a silence that has lasted years, words that were said and cannot be unsaid, or wounds passed down from a generation before you that you never chose but still carry. You have wondered whether that particular relationship is simply beyond repair, whether some family fractures are meant to stay fractured forever. I want you to hear me clearly. I am the one who turns the hearts of parents back toward their children, and the hearts of children back toward their parents. Restoration inside a family is one of the works closest to my heart, because family was my design from the very beginning, even in families that no longer resemble what I intended. My beloved child, I have not given up on the relationships you have quietly given up on. I am still working in hearts you assume are too hardened to change. There is an old story of a younger son who took his inheritance early, wasted it far from home. and returned expecting nothing but shame and rejection. He rehearsed an apology on the long walk back, assuming the best he could hope for was to be treated as a servant in his own father's house. But while he was still far away, his father saw him and ran to meet him, before a single apology had even been spoken. My beloved child, this is how I feel toward the distant relationships in your family. I am watching the road, ready to run toward reconciliation the moment there is any movement at all. I know some family wounds are deep enough that reconciliation may take a very long time, and I know some relationships may require boundaries even as healing happens, because restoration does not always mean returning to the exact same closeness that existed before the wound. My beloved child, restoring a family relationship can look different, depending on what is safe and healthy for everyone involved. I am not asking you to erase boundaries in the name of forcing peace. I am asking you to let me work on the hearts involved, including your own, even while healthy distance remains for a season. If you were raised in a home where love was inconsistent, where words wounded more than they healed, or where the family you needed did not show up the way a family should, I want you to know that I am rebuilding your understanding of family from the ground up. I am teaching you what steady love looks like, so that even if certain relationships in your bloodline remain unhealed, you are not left without a picture of what family was always meant to feel like. I place people in your life, not always blood relatives, who reflect that picture back to you. My beloved child, if you are the one in your family trying to break a painful pattern that has repeated for generations, the yelling, the silence, the neglect, the addiction, the way pain was handled by wounding others, I want you to know that pattern can end with you. You do not have to pass forward everything that was passed to you. I am rebuilding the foundation of what your family will look like for the generations who come after you, and it begins with the healing I am doing in you right now, whether or not anyone else in your family chooses to change alongside you. So bring me the distant relationship, the unspoken wound, the family gathering that still feels tense, the parent or sibling or child you do not know how to reach. I am not asking you to force what is not ready. I am asking you to trust me with the timing and to let me keep working even in the hearts you cannot see. And in the next part, I want to go deeper still into the foundation of your own identity. Because before I can finish rebuilding what is around you, I want to finish rebuilding what is within you. My beloved child, I have shown you that I am rebuilding the broken pieces within your family. And now I want to speak to something even more foundational, the way you see yourself. Somewhere along the way, your identity was built on shaky ground, on what others said about you, on the roles you were forced into too early, on the failures that convinced you of your own limitations, on comparisons that never should have applied to you in the first place. My beloved child, before I can finish rebuilding your circumstances, I want to rebuild the foundation you are standing on when you think about who you are. You have believed things about yourself that I never said. You have believed you are too much or not enough, too broken to be chosen, too ordinary to matter, too far behind to catch up. These beliefs did not come from me. They came from wounds, from comparisons, from voices that had no right to define you, but were loud enough that you listened anyway. My beloved child, I am tearing down that foundation, not to leave you standing on nothing, but to pour something truer beneath your feet. I did not build your identity on your performance. I did not build it on your worst moment or your highest achievement. I built it on the fact that I formed you intentionally, that I knew you before anyone else had an opinion about you, that my thoughts toward you have always outnumbered the stars and have always been thoughts of good, not harm. Every other foundation you have tried to stand on will eventually crack under pressure, because performance is inconsistent and other people's opinions shift like weather. Only the foundation I am building holds steady, no matter what is happening around you. My beloved child, this rebuilding requires me to remove some beliefs you have held onto for a long time, even ones that felt like protection. The belief that you must earn love. The belief that your value depends on your usefulness to others. The belief that you are only as good as your last mistake or your last success. These beliefs feel familiar, and letting go of familiar things can feel like losing your footing, even when the footing was never solid to begin with. Trust me while I remove what was never meant to hold you. There is an old story of a man who once carried a new name I gave him. A name that meant something different from the one his family had given him at birth. Because I was doing a new work in his identity, that his old name no longer described. My beloved child, I am not simply repairing the old version of you. I am renaming certain parts of your identity, calling you by what I see instead of what your history has labeled you. Where you have called yourself broken, I call you being restored. Where you have called yourself disqualified, I call you chosen. I know this rebuilding takes time, because identity is not repaired in a single conversation. It is repaired the way anything foundational is repaired, one truth at a time, replacing one lie at a time, until the structure of how you see yourself can bear the weight of everything I have planned for your life. My beloved child, be patient with yourself in this process. You did not build the wrong foundation overnight, and I am not asking you to rebuild it overnight either. So today, let me keep working beneath the surface of your identity. Let me remove what was never true, and let me pour in what has always been true about you, even in the years you could not yet see it. And in the next part, I want to speak to something that many of you feel most sharply. The years that delay seem to steal from you, because I am rebuilding what delay tried to destroy, and none of that time was as wasted as it appeared. My beloved child, I have shown you that I am rebuilding the very foundation of your identity, and now I want to speak to the years you believe were stolen from you, the years you spent waiting for something that has not arrived yet, the years lost to an illness, an addiction, a wrong relationship, a season of poor decisions, or simply circumstances beyond your control. You look back at those years and see only loss, only time you cannot get back, only ground that competitors and peers gained while you were standing still or moving backward. I want to speak a promise over you that I have spoken before to others who felt exactly as you feel now. I restore the years the swarming locust has eaten, the years consumed by struggle, by delay, by seasons that seemed only to take from you and give nothing back. My beloved child, restoration of years does not always mean I give you back the identical years in the identical form. It means I take what those years cost you, and I multiply what remains so thoroughly that the loss no longer defines the shape of your life. Think of someone who lost everything: health, family, possessions, position, in a single devastating season, and who later received not merely a restoration of what was lost, but double what he had before, along with an understanding of me deeper than he had ever known prior to the loss. My beloved child, I am not only capable of returning what the delay cost you, I am capable of using the delay itself to prepare you for more than you would have carried had the delay never happened at all. I know it does not feel that way while you are living inside the delay. It feels like falling behind, like everyone else is moving forward while your life stays frozen. But I want you to consider that some of what you learned during the waiting could not have been learned any faster. Patience is not built in a moment. Character is not built in a moment. The wisdom you now carry because of what you survived is not something I could have handed you instantly. It had to be formed across the very years you believe were wasted. My beloved child, I am not asking you to celebrate the delay as though it did not cost you anything real. It did cost you something, and I do not minimize that. But I am asking you to release the belief that delay disqualifies you from the future I planned for you. Delay is not denial. A season taking longer than you hoped does not mean the promise has been withdrawn. It means the promise is still being formed, and I am the one who knows exactly how much time it requires. There will be a day when you look back at the years you thought were lost, and you will see threads you cannot see right now. Threads of endurance, of compassion for others walking a similar road, of a faith that would not exist in the same depth without the waiting that shaped it. My beloved child, I do not waste seasons, even the ones that feel entirely wasted to you right now. I am weaving every one of them into the larger restoration I am building in your life. So bring me the years you grieve the most, the ones you wish you could simply erase from your story. I am not erasing them. I am redeeming them, which is a deeper work than erasing could ever be. And in the next part, I want to speak to something that often follows long delay, the quiet erosion of faith after disappointment, because I am rebuilding that too, gently, one honest conversation at a time. My beloved child, I have shown you that I restore the years delay seemed to steal. And now I want to speak tenderly to the quiet distance that has grown between us since your disappointment. There was a prayer you prayed with everything in you, and the answer did not come the way you hoped, or did not come at all. Since then, something in you has held back, not walked away completely, but stopped fully trusting that I am good in the way you once believed without question. You still pray, but with less expectation. You still believe, but with more caution. I want you to know that I am not offended by your honesty about this. I would rather you bring me your disappointment directly than pretend it does not exist while quietly drifting further from me. There were faithful voices in the old stories who cried out to me in real anguish, who asked why I seemed silent, who wrestled with unanswered prayer without pretending everything was fine. My beloved child, wrestling with me is not the same as walking away from me. You can bring me your confusion and your hurt at the same time you bring me your trust. Both can be true at once. I know it feels safer to expect less from me than to be disappointed again. Lowered expectations feel like protection. But my beloved child, I did not design your faith to survive by expecting less of me. I designed it to survive by understanding me more accurately. Some disappointment comes not because I failed you, but because you expected me to move the way you wanted, on your timeline, in the shape you had already decided was right. I am rebuilding your understanding of my goodness, so that it does not depend on getting the specific outcome you asked for. This does not mean your pain over the unanswered prayer was unreasonable. It was real, and I do not dismiss it. But I want to gently show you that my silence in that season was never absence. I was present in ways you could not measure at the time, closer to your pain than you realized, even while the specific answer you wanted had not yet arrived, or arrived differently than you expected, or has not arrived yet at all. My beloved child, unanswered does not always mean unheard. Sometimes it means not yet, and sometimes it means I have something different in mind than what you asked for. I am rebuilding your faith the way a skilled builder reinforces a structure that was damaged in a storm, not by pretending the storm never happened, but by strengthening exactly the places the storm exposed as weak. The disappointment revealed where your trust in me depended too heavily on receiving what you wanted. I am now building a trust that can hold steady even when the outcome is not what you hoped for, a trust rooted in who I am rather than in what I give you. My beloved child, bring me your honest questions. Bring me the prayer that still feels unanswered. Bring me the doubt that crept in after the disappointment. I am not intimidated by your doubt, and I am not going to distance myself from you because you have grown cautious with your faith. I will meet you exactly where the caution lives, and I will rebuild your trust patiently, the same way I rebuild everything else, without rushing you past what you are still processing. So let your faith be rebuilt honestly, rather than performed falsely. I would rather have your real questions than your pretend certainty. And in the next part, I want to speak to something that often disappears quietly during long seasons of disappointment and pain, your voice, because I am restoring that too. The confidence to speak again after silence taught you it was safer to stay quiet. My beloved child, I have shown you that I am rebuilding your faith after disappointment. And now I want to speak to something you have lost that you may not have even named clearly, your voice. Somewhere along the way, speaking up cost you something. Perhaps you were silenced as a child, told your feelings were too much or your opinions did not matter. Perhaps you spoke honestly once and it was used against you, so you learned to stay quiet to stay safe. Perhaps you simply grew tired of not being heard and stopped trying to be. My beloved child, I am rebuilding your voice, and I want you to trust that process even if it feels unfamiliar. There was a young man I called into leadership who protested that he could not speak well, that words did not come easily to him, that others were more naturally gifted with speech than he was. Yet I did not choose him because his voice was already strong. I chose him, and then strengthened his voice through the calling itself, sending him someone to speak alongside him until his own confidence grew. My beloved child, I am not waiting for your voice to already be strong before I use it. I am strengthening it as you use it, one honest sentence at a time. I know silence became a form of safety for you. If you did not speak, you could not be criticized. If you did not share your true feelings, they could not be dismissed. But my beloved child, that safety has cost you something significant. It has cost you the relationships that could have gone deeper had you spoken honestly. It has cost you the healing that comes from naming your pain out loud instead of carrying it silently. It has cost you opportunities to use the very words I placed in you to help someone else who needed exactly what you had learned to keep hidden. Rebuilding your voice does not mean I am asking you to become loud or aggressive or to say everything you think without wisdom. I am asking you to stop believing that your voice does not matter. Your perspective, formed through everything you have survived, carries weight. Your honest feelings, spoken with respect, deserve to be heard. Your ability to say no, to set a boundary, to correct someone gently, to ask for what you need, all of this is part of the voice I am restoring in you, piece by piece. My beloved child, I know it will feel uncomfortable at first, like relearning to use a muscle that has gone unused for years. You may speak and feel your voice shake. You may set a boundary and feel guilty immediately afterward. You may share something honest and instantly regret the vulnerability. This is normal in the early stages of rebuilding. Do not judge the whole restoration by the discomfort of its beginning. Every rebuilt voice feels shaky before it feels steady. I am not rebuilding your voice so you can prove anything to the people who silenced you. I am rebuilding it because I made you to be heard, not to disappear quietly into every room you enter. There is something you carry that only your voice can say in exactly the way you would say it. Someone is waiting to hear it, even if you do not yet know who they are. So my beloved child, practice speaking with me first, in prayer, honestly, without editing yourself. Let that become the training ground for the voice I am restoring in every other part of your life. And in the next part, I want to speak into a wound that silence often surrounds most tightly of all, the grief you have carried for someone or something you lost. Because I am mending that too, even when grief feels like the one thing that can never fully be repaired. My beloved child, I have shown you that I am restoring the voice that silence took from you, and now I want to sit with you gently in the grief you carry, because I know this is one of the tenderest rooms in your rebuilding. You lost someone, or something, that cannot simply be replaced. A person, a relationship, a version of your future you had already begun to imagine. Grief does not follow the same rules as other kinds of rebuilding, and I want you to know I am not asking you to rush through it or explain it away. I am asking you to let me sit inside it with you. There is a shortest sentence in all the old stories, describing the moment I stood at the grave of someone I loved and simply wept, even though I already knew I was about to bring him back to life. My beloved child, I want you to notice that. I grieved even while holding the power to restore. This tells you something important. Grief and restoration are not opposites. I do not require you to stop grieving before I begin rebuilding. I grieve alongside you while I am already at work on what comes next. Some things that were lost will not return in this life in the form you remember them. I will not pretend otherwise to comfort you falsely. But my beloved child, rebuilding after loss does not always mean bringing back the exact thing that was taken. Sometimes it means rebuilding your capacity to live fully again, to love again, to hope again, without that hope being a betrayal of what you lost. You are allowed to carry both the ache of missing what is gone and the willingness to keep living a whole life. Grief does not require you to stay frozen out of loyalty to what was lost. I know there is a particular loneliness in grief, because even people who love you cannot fully enter it with you. They can sit near you, but they cannot carry the exact weight you carry. My beloved child, I can. I do not observe your grief from a distance the way even the kindest friend must. I carry it with you from the inside, because I have grieved too, and because nothing about your sorrow is unfamiliar to me. Rebuilding after loss is often slower than any other kind of rebuilding, and I want you to give yourself permission for that. There is no schedule you are failing to meet. There is no timeline by which you should already be over it. Some grief reshapes itself over years rather than disappearing, becoming something you carry differently rather than something you stop carrying altogether. My beloved child, that is not a failure to heal. That is simply what love that has lost its object looks like, carried honestly, over time with my hand steady underneath it. I want you to know that comfort is not the same as forgetting. You can be comforted by me and still remember, still love what you lost, still speak their name, still let certain days remain hard. My comfort does not erase your history. It simply means you are not carrying the weight of it entirely alone. My beloved child, let me carry this with you today, exactly as heavy as it actually is, without minimizing any part of it. So bring me your grief honestly, without performing strength you do not feel. I am not intimidated by your tears, and I am not in a hurry for you to finish grieving on someone else's schedule. And in the next part, I want to speak to something closely connected to grief, the dreams you have quietly buried because they hurt too much to keep hoping for. Because I am rebuilding those too, even the ones you have stopped mentioning out loud. My beloved child, I have shown you that I sit with you inside your grief, and now I want to speak to the dreams you have quietly buried because hoping for them started to hurt more than letting them go. There was something you once wanted deeply, a calling, a family, a creative work, an opportunity, and somewhere along the way, disappointment taught you it was safer to stop wanting it out loud. You did not necessarily give up on it entirely. You simply stopped mentioning it, stopped praying about it specifically, buried it quietly beneath more manageable, smaller hopes. My beloved child, I want you to know that a buried dream is not the same as a dead one. Seeds are buried too, and burial is not always the end of a thing. It is sometimes the very posture required for it to grow. What looked like giving up may simply have been the season where the dream needed to go quiet in order to be reshaped into something stronger than what you originally imagined. I have not forgotten what you buried, even if you have tried to forget it yourself to protect your heart from further disappointment. There was a young shepherd anointed for a future far greater than the field he was standing in, and years passed between that anointing and the day the promise actually took shape. Years spent in obscurity, in danger, in situations that must have made the original calling feel like a distant memory. My beloved child, if I can carry a calling through years of delay and hardship until it becomes exactly what I said it would be, I can carry the dream you buried through however long it takes for the right season to arrive. I know it feels safer to keep your hopes small now. Small hopes disappoint you less. But my beloved child, I did not design you to live your whole life protecting yourself from hope. I am gently, patiently inviting you to dig back up what you buried. Not recklessly, not by forcing timelines, but by simply being honest with me again about what you still long for, even if you are afraid to say it out loud to anyone else. This does not mean every buried dream returns in its original form. Some dreams I reshape into something you could not have imagined when you first buried them. Wiser, more mature, more aligned with who you have become through the waiting. My beloved child, do not assume the reshaped version is a lesser version. Sometimes what grows from a buried seed is far more fruitful than what would have grown had it never gone underground at all. I want you to bring me the dream you stopped speaking about. Bring me the hope you decided was too risky to keep carrying. You do not have to know how it will unfold. You only have to stop pretending you do not still care about it. My beloved child, caring again is not weakness. It is the beginning of the very restoration I have been planning underground the entire time you assumed the dream was finished. So let this be the day the buried dream is allowed to breathe again in your conversations with me, quietly, honestly, without pressure to explain how it will happen. And in the next part, I want to speak to the confidence that failure once took from you, because I am rebuilding that too, the willingness to try again after something did not work the way you hoped it would. My beloved child, I have shown you that buried dreams are not dead dreams, and now I want to speak to the confidence that failure quietly took from you. There was a moment you tried something with everything you had, and it did not work. Maybe it was a business, a relationship, a project, an attempt to change, an opportunity you finally worked up the courage to pursue. And when it did not succeed, something inside you decided it was safer never to try that hard again. You have been living cautiously ever since, keeping your efforts small so your disappointment stays small too. My beloved child, I want to gently challenge the conclusion you drew from that failure. You have decided the failure proved something permanent about your ability. But one outcome, even a painful one, is not a verdict on your entire capacity. There were faithful men who fished all night and caught nothing, and it would have been reasonable for them to conclude they simply were not skilled enough, that the effort had been wasted. Yet when I told them to try again, in a way that did not make sense to their experience, the result was more than their nets could hold. I am not asking you to try the exact same thing again in the exact same way that failed before. I am asking you to let me rebuild your willingness to try it all, because a heart that refuses to attempt anything new is a heart that has quietly agreed with failure's verdict about you. My beloved child, failure is data, not destiny. It tells you something did not work that time, under those conditions, with the information you had then. It does not tell you that you are permanently unable to succeed. I know rebuilding this kind of confidence takes courage because trying again means risking disappointment again. But my beloved child, the alternative, staying permanently cautious, permanently small, permanently unwilling to risk failure again, is its own kind of loss. A quieter one, a slower one, but real nonetheless. I did not rebuild you so you could live safely from the sidelines for the rest of your life. I rebuilt you so you could take wise risks again, informed by what you learned, not paralyzed by what you lost. Confidence rebuilt after failure is different from confidence that has never been tested. It is quieter, less naive, more grounded in trust in me rather than trust in guaranteed outcomes. My beloved child, this is actually a stronger kind of confidence than what you had before, because it does not depend on everything going perfectly. It depends on knowing that even if this attempt does not succeed either, you are not finished, and neither am I. I want you to notice where you have quietly stopped trying, the application you have not submitted, the conversation you have avoided, the creative work you abandoned halfway, the relationship risk you decided was not worth taking again. My beloved child, bring these to me one at a time. I am not demanding you attempt everything at once. I am asking you to let me rebuild your courage the way I rebuild everything else, gradually, with patience for how tender this part of you still is. So today, let the failure lose its grip on your future attempts. It was one outcome, not a final sentence. And in the next part, I want to speak to something you may have almost stopped believing is possible for you. Real peace in the middle of the chaos that has surrounded you for so long. Because I am rebuilding that too, right in the center of circumstances that have not yet changed. My beloved child, I have shown you that failure is not your destiny, and now I want to speak to the chaos that has surrounded you for so long that peace has started to feel like a stranger. Your circumstances may not have changed yet. The pressure at work, the tension at home, the uncertainty about your finances, the health concern that has not resolved. You have quietly begun to believe that peace is only available once the chaos ends, and since the chaos has not ended, peace feels permanently out of reach. But my beloved child, I never promised you peace that depends on the absence of chaos. I promised you a peace the world cannot give and cannot take away, a peace that exists precisely because it does not depend on your circumstances lining up. I calmed a storm once with only a word, but I also walked calmly through storms I chose not to calm immediately. Because sometimes the deeper miracle is not removing the chaos, but rebuilding your capacity to remain steady inside it. I know this sounds difficult to believe when the chaos in your life feels so loud. But I want you to notice something. Chaos is loud, but it is not more powerful than my presence. The storm on the sea that night was violent enough to frighten experienced fishermen, yet I slept through it undisturbed. Not because I was unaware, but because my peace did not depend on the water being calm. My beloved child, I am rebuilding that same kind of peace in you, a peace that can sleep steadily even while the wind is still blowing. This rebuilding requires me to change what you have been trusting for your peace. If your peace depends entirely on your circumstances improving, you will remain anxious until every single external thing resolves, and even then, new chaos will eventually arrive to threaten it again. But if your peace is rooted in my presence and my faithfulness, it can hold steady through this storm and every storm after it. Because the foundation is no longer the weather, but the one who walks on the water, regardless of the weather. My beloved child, I am not asking you to fake calm you do not feel. I am asking you to bring me the specific chaos, the specific fear, the specific tension keeping you awake at night, and let me exchange it piece by piece. For a peace that guards your heart and mind even while the situation itself remains unresolved. This exchange does not happen instantly. It happens the way all my rebuilding happens, gradually, through practiced trust, through returning to me again and again until steadiness becomes more natural than panic. I want you to notice the difference between peace and denial. I am not asking you to deny that the chaos is real or that it hurts. I am asking you to let your peace be bigger than the chaos rather than dependent on its disappearance. My beloved child, this is one of the deepest kinds of rebuilding I do, because a person who can remain steady in the middle of a real storm carries something the world cannot manufacture and cannot take away through any circumstance. So bring me your chaos honestly today, without pretending it is smaller than it is. Let me begin rebuilding your peace right here, in the middle of what has not yet resolved. And in the next part, I want to speak to the relationships I am rebuilding on entirely new ground, because some of what I am restoring is not a return to what was, but the construction of something healthier than you have ever experienced before. My beloved child, I have shown you that I am rebuilding real peace in the middle of your chaos. And now I want to speak to the relationships I am rebuilding on entirely new ground. Not every relationship I restore returns to its original shape. Some of what looks like restoration is actually me building something healthier than what existed before, because the original version of that relationship was never actually whole to begin with, even before it broke. You may be hoping I simply repair a relationship back to exactly what it once was, but my beloved child, if what it once was included patterns that hurt you, silence that isolated you, dynamics that were unhealthy long before the visible break happened, then returning to the original shape would not actually be restoration. It would be rebuilding the same fragile structure that was always going to fall again. I am not interested in rebuilding what was never sound. I am interested in building something new on the same ground, something that can actually hold the weight of real love. This means some relationships I restore will look different than you expect. There may be new boundaries where there were none before. There may be more honesty required than the relationship previously allowed. There may be a slower pace of trust than you are used to. My beloved child, do not mistake these changes for the relationship failing to heal. These changes are often exactly what healthy restoration requires, because I am not simply gluing the old pieces back together. I am reshaping the entire structure so it can actually last. I also want you to know that not every relationship I heal will look like reconciliation with the same people. Sometimes rebuilding your relational life means bringing new people into it. People who reflect the health and honesty you have been longing for. People who do not repeat the patterns that wounded you before. My beloved child, do not assume restoration always means returning to old relationships. Sometimes it means finally receiving the kind of relationships you always deserved but had not yet encountered. I know it can be disorienting when restoration does not look the way you imagined it. You pictured a specific reunion, a specific apology, a specific return to how things used to be, and instead I am building something you did not anticipate. My beloved child, trust that I know the difference between what you wanted and what will actually be good for you long term. I am not withholding restoration by building something new. I am giving you a deeper version of it than the one you were picturing. This new ground I am building on also requires something from you, a willingness to relate differently than you did before. If old patterns caused pain, healthy rebuilding asks you to release those same patterns, even the ones that felt normal simply because they were familiar. My beloved child, familiar is not the same as healthy. I am teaching you new patterns of communication, honesty, and boundaries, so the relationships I am rebuilding can actually flourish rather than repeat the same fractures. So my beloved child, release the specific picture you had of what restoration must look like, and trust me with the actual shape it will take. And in the next part, I want to speak to your body and your strength, because the rebuilding I am doing is not only in your heart, your identity, and your relationships. I am restoring physical strength and health as well, in ways both natural and beyond what you have expected. My beloved child, I have shown you that some relationships are being rebuilt on entirely new ground, and now I want to speak to your body, your energy, and your strength, because exhaustion has settled into places you did not expect it to reach. Perhaps illness has taken something from you: stamina, mobility, the ease with which you used to move through your days. Perhaps stress and grief have worn down your body in ways no test can fully explain. You have felt weary in a manner that sleep alone does not seem to fix. I want you to know that I care about your body, not only your spirit. I made you as one whole being, and the weariness in your muscles, the fog in your mind, the fatigue in your bones, all of this matters to me. I am not distant from your physical exhaustion, treating it as unimportant compared to spiritual matters. Restoration in my hands touches every part of you, because I did not create you to be only a soul temporarily inconvenienced by a body. I created you as body and soul together, and I am rebuilding both. There were those in the old stories who came to me utterly depleted, unable to walk, unable to see, unable to function in ways their community had written off as permanent. And I did not tell them their condition was unimportant compared to spiritual concerns. I reached out and touched exactly the part of them that was broken, restoring strength to legs that had not walked, sight to eyes that had not seen, in ways doctors of that day could not explain. My beloved child, I have not stopped being that same restorer. I know healing does not always happen instantly, and I want to be honest with you rather than promise something I have not spoken. Some healing comes gradually, through rest, through wise care, through the medical help I have provided in this world as one of the ways I restore bodies. Some healing comes suddenly, beyond explanation, and some struggles remain for a season or a lifetime, even while I remain present and strengthening you through them. My beloved child, whichever form your healing takes, I am not absent from your body's struggle. I want to speak specifically to your exhaustion today. If you have been pushing your body past what it can sustain, trying to prove your worth through relentless effort, I am inviting you to rest without guilt. Rest is not laziness. It is part of how I rebuild strength. Even the ground itself was designed to lie fallow for seasons so it could remain fruitful. My beloved child, your body was never designed to produce at full capacity every single day without pause. Let me rebuild a rhythm of rest into your life that you may have abandoned long ago. I also want to speak to the shame some of you carry about your physical limitations, believing your worth is diminished because your body cannot do what it once could, or what someone else's body can do. My beloved child, your value was never tied to your physical capacity. I am rebuilding your body according to my timing and my methods, but I am not waiting for that rebuilding to finish before I call you valuable exactly as you are right now. So bring me your exhausted body, your unresolved diagnosis, your fatigue that will not lift no matter how much you sleep. I am attentive to this part of your restoration too, whether it happens quickly, slowly, or gradually across a lifetime of walking with me through it. And in the next part, I want to remind you of something important as we near the end of this letter together. The rebuilding is not finished, but it is already working, even in the places you cannot yet measure. My beloved child, I have shown you that I care for your body as much as your spirit. And now, as we come toward the end of this letter, I want to remind you clearly, the rebuilding is not finished, but it is already working. You may look at your life today and see very little visible change since we began this conversation. The relationship is still distant. The dream is still buried. The body is still tired. The trust is still cautious. My beloved child, invisible progress is still progress, and I do not want you to measure my faithfulness only by what has already become visible. Think again of the foundation being poured beneath a building long before any wall rises where people can see it. If you visited that construction site on the very day the foundation was being laid, you might reasonably wonder whether anything was actually happening, because nothing yet resembles a finished building. But ask any builder, and they will tell you that day was one of the most important days in the entire project. My beloved child, do not let the lack of visible change today convince you that nothing important is happening. Some of the most essential work is happening exactly where you cannot yet see it. I want you to trust the process even in the parts that feel stagnant. A seed planted in soil shows no visible change for days, sometimes weeks, and yet everything necessary for growth is already occurring beneath the surface. Roots forming, structure strengthening, life gathering itself before it ever breaks through the ground. My beloved child, you are in that same kind of season in more areas of your life than you realize. What looks like nothing happening is often everything happening, just not yet where you can observe it. I am not asking you to manufacture false certainty about outcomes you cannot see yet. I am asking you to trust the character of the one doing the building rather than demanding proof before you believe. I have never abandoned a rebuilding project I started. What I begin, I am faithful to complete, even when the completion takes far longer than you hoped, even when the process looks nothing like what you expected along the way. My beloved child, look back over everything we have walked through together in this letter. The ruins I called raw material, the silent foundation work, the cracks that let my light through, the shame I refused to let disqualify you, the trust I am rebuilding after betrayal, the family relationships I have not given up on, the identity I am reshaping from the ground up, the years I am redeeming, the faith I am strengthening after disappointment. the voice I am restoring, the grief I am carrying with you, the dreams I am reviving, the confidence I am rebuilding after failure, the peace I am establishing in your chaos, the new relational ground I am building, the strength I am restoring in your body. None of this stopped while you were reading. All of it continues the moment this letter ends. I want to be honest with you about one more thing. Some parts of this rebuilding will take longer than you want them to take. I am not going to pretend otherwise to make this letter feel more comfortable to you. But long does not mean abandoned, and slow does not mean stopped. My beloved child, keep bringing me the pieces. Keep returning to this place of honesty with me. Keep letting me work in the parts you cannot yet see, even when the waiting feels heavier than you expected it to feel. So receive this today, not as a finished testimony, but as an honest progress report from the one doing the building. I am not finished with you. I am not finished with your family, your identity, your dreams, your body, your relationships, your faith. The rebuilding continues, quietly, faithfully, exactly as it has from the very beginning. And in the final part of this letter, I want to speak to what it looks like to walk forward into the structure I have already built, even while some rooms are still under construction. My beloved child, I have shown you that the rebuilding is not finished, but it is already working. And now, as this letter comes to its close, I want to speak to what it looks like to walk forward while some rooms of your life are still under construction. You do not have to wait until every part of you is completely restored before you begin living again. A house does not need to be entirely finished before certain rooms become livable. My beloved child, walk into the rooms that are ready now, even while I continue working on the ones that are not. This means you can love again even while trust is still being rebuilt in you. You can pursue the dream again even while confidence is still being restored. You can speak honestly again even while your voice still feels unfamiliar using truth out loud. My beloved child, waiting for total completion before you take any steps forward is not wisdom. It is another form of staying at a threshold that I have already opened for you to cross. I know it feels safer to wait until everything is fully repaired, but my beloved child, some of the deepest healing happens not before you step forward, but as you step forward. Confidence rebuilds itself partly through use. Trust rebuilds itself partly through cautious, wise practice with people who prove trustworthy. Voice rebuilds itself partly by being spoken, even shakily, even imperfectly, until it grows stronger through use rather than through waiting in silence for strength to arrive first. So take the step you have been postponing until you felt fully ready. Reach out to the relationship I have been softening. Speak the sentence you have been afraid to say. Return to the dream you buried and let it breathe again, even quietly, even privately, even before anyone else knows you are hoping again. My beloved child, you do not need permission from your own healing timeline to begin participating in the life I am rebuilding for you. You only need permission from me, and I have already given it. I want you to carry something forward from every single part of this letter. Carry the truth that your ruins are raw material, not evidence of your worthlessness. Carry the patience to trust my silent work beneath the surface. Carry the understanding that cracks let light through rather than only letting pain in. Carry the freedom of a shame that no longer defines you. Carry a wiser, steadier trust with the people I place in your life. Carry the identity I have been rebuilding rather than the one that was handed to you by wounds. Carry the confidence that delay was never denial. Carry the honesty that lets your faith survive disappointment instead of pretending disappointment away. Carry the voice I am strengthening every time you use it. Carry the grief without needing to rush past it. Carry the dream you almost let die, breathing again quietly. Carry the willingness to try once more after failure. Carry the peace that does not depend on the chaos ending. Carry the new relational ground, even when it looks different than what you expected. Carry the patience toward your own body as I restore it in my timing. My beloved child, I am not finished, and I never asked you to be finished either before I called you loved, called you mine, called you someone I am actively rebuilding rather than someone I have already given up on. Walk forward today into whatever room is ready, trusting me with every room that is still under construction. I have not brought you this far to leave the work incomplete. What I am rebuilding in you, I will carry through to completion, one faithful day at a time, until the whole structure stands exactly as I always intended it to stand.